Hi everyone, welcome back to Foos Files, the podcast for fans of the Foo Fighters. It's Dan here, as always. Hope you're having a good week so far. The bad news is it's a solo episode this week, so you're just stuck with my voice. But the good news is Foo Fighters have new music out again. So it's Caught in the Echo, the latest single that landed on Friday. So in theory, we've kind of heard half of the album now, if you count Unconditional from the last tour. And of all people, there was some scratchy recordings from the recent live shows going around of that. But this is the biggie, really, because it's the opening track, so it kind of sets the tone for the new album. It's direct, it's raw, it's full of the band's classic energy, dense guitars, a relentless rhythm to it. You might recall my take on Your Favourite Toy a few episodes ago, which that song hit me fairly instantly. It was a bit of a foot tapper, I think was how I described it. This one, and this is just me personally, it actually took me a few more listens, and I think that's because at first I didn't pay much attention to the song or the lyrics in isolation because I was drawn into its kind of bits of other Foo Fighters songs that I actually heard in there. I heard bits of Rope, bits of Congregation. Obviously, the strum pattern at the start, people have likened that to Times Like These, which, again, you couldn't help but notice that. But as you grow into the song, yeah, there's lots to love about it, especially as you get halfway through the tempo change at 2 minutes. And I think that's where the song gets really interesting because we all know Dave can write a verse and a chorus. And to that end, the song is classic Foo Fighters. It's really catchy. It's got a chorus that we can all sing along to. But as I say, I think at 2 minutes, that's where it really starts to get interesting. There's that breakdown before it builds back up again. And then the song just accelerates away towards the end without being too complicated. I mean, there's obviously lots of layers in there, nothing that over-eggs it too much. The lead guitar kind of just chimes away in the background, it's reminiscent of the riff to These Days, I thought. But I do think it's going to sound really good live. Maybe it'll be the set opener, who knows? I wouldn't be against that myself because I've been saying to a few people, I think All My Life possibly needs a break now. Not altogether, but just as the opener because, that's been it's been a staple for quite a long time. But anyway, that's going to be a topic for a future episode, so watch this space. That's my little synopsis of the track. I've had quite a few messages about it from you guys, so I wanted to read those out really and devote most of the episode to your comments. Starting with Maka Chokan, she says, I thought the lyrics were a bit lazy, but now I understand where they come from. I think that's a really pertinent point because if you read the interview the band did, or at least 4 of them did, with the Guardian newspaper that was published last week, I mean, it's the most candid any of them have spoken for a while, but particularly Dave. And I think it certainly sets out where his head is at lyrically. I think the line in the song, consider this an evaluation of my hallucinations, is interesting. I mean, a lot has been made from the Guardian interview about the rigorous therapy sessions that he referenced, but he also spoke about the vivid dreams that he has every day. So I think that's probably more likely to be what that line references. We've got another regular listener, Cheryl Feynman, best opener since In Your Honor. Now, that's a big call because obviously since In Your Honor, we've had openers like The Pretender and Bridge Burning, which were very, very strong. But you know what? It's subjective. And maybe when we've heard the album as a whole, in the sequence of things, we might all feel like that. Who knows? Let's see. Nicholas S. says, this one is built for the stages with that big building up bridge. Interesting tune. Exactly that, Nicholas, referencing the breakdown and then how the song builds back up again. Completely agree with that. August Bourne says, should have been the lead single, in my opinion. I get why people would say that, but I can also understand why they didn't put it out as the lead single because it kind of feels like very familiar Foo Fighters ground, and they obviously wanted to try something different. So, yeah, I can see both sides of that particular argument. Maggie Rainwater, super excited to listen to it while I run. Well, it's a great pace setter, isn't it? If you're a runner and you do like to listen to the Foo Fighters. Beth McIsaac, I teared up at the "Who Can Save Us Now" part. Yep, again, very interesting lyrically, as we said. Obviously, a lot deeper than we first thought. Brendan Sav, it's pretty sick. I'm loving the punk vibes of this album. Very raw and edgy. Kinda Queens of the Stone Age inspired. Oliver Roman is a great producer. Yeah, I think the whole ethos of the album is punk, raw, and edgy, as Dave has talked about in the interviews. Kiri from Foo Fighters Live, it's so familiar, but with a new energy. Sounds like they're in a much better place. Yeah, that pretty much hits the nail on the head for me, because it is familiar, but it is also kind of new sounding. So, yeah, I'd go with that one. David Bratcher, can't wait to hear it live. Sounds like a banger with some room for solos. Which reminds me, actually, David, I think, was one of the lucky people in the LA area who managed to get their hands on one of those CDs that were cut of the single and then left in various department stores and supermarkets and record shops, which was pretty funny. You know, a random Foo Fighters CD with a hand-drawn cover just fitted in the crisps aisle at a supermarket. Love that. Completely forgot to mention it at the top of the episode, by the way. But again, that sort of stuff, it harks back to the fun stuff they used to do maybe 10, 15 years ago. And we love all of that, don't we? Jack O'Boyd, love it, best band in the world. And then to finish off, we've got a couple of other regular listeners. Colin Cassell, really liked it. Some actual singing, great intro, can see this as a show opener. Again, as we said earlier, could be the time to drop all my life down the order and have this to open the shows. And yeah, as Colin said, some good singing from Dave, your favourite toy, obviously a bit shoutier. And then finally, Kim Hearn, growing on me, lots of raw energy in this one. So there you go, all pretty positive stuff again in terms of the verdict, albeit, you know, the listeners of this show are a small sample size of the global Foo Fighters fan base, but they do know their onions. And the fun thing about doing these little review episodes a few days on from when a song is released is that they can sit there for a while and fester, and we can all come back to them in weeks or months or whenever and see how our opinion of the song has changed, because it usually does, doesn't it? So that's it for this short but sweet episode. Jessie Green's back with us next week to talk about her new album, which features Rami Jaffe. And you might remember I chatted to her last year about her time touring and recording with the Foos. And she's just a really lovely person, so it'll be nice to have her back on to talk a little bit about the album. As always, thanks for listening to Foos Files. Don't forget to hit the follow or subscribe button on your favourite podcast app to make sure you never miss an episode. In the meantime, have a great week, take care, and we'll see you next time.